if you have a nose like me, you might think, surely the size of those colossal nostrils doesn't need more assistance.
Cavernous. Opening them up requires you to put a land registry down so that you can walk through.
You have to get planning permission.
Planning permission.
Did you have to get one for Arab-sized noses?
Yeah, you have to tick your ethnicity as you select the order.
I can't tell if you're joking. Are you joking?
I mean, how racist would that be?
I mean, I didn't think on this episode of Life Hacks I would be the only one here without a pack of nasal strips to hand.
Good face, Chris. That's the makeup face.
There it is. If you're not familiar with this, Life Hacks, it's the longest series that we've done on modern wisdom, tools, techniques, and tactics for a productive and efficient life. We do a round table. Each of us proposes something that we've fallen in love with over the last few weeks about how to create a perfect toasted sandwich or get out of a parking fine or a brand new seat that you can sunbathe in appropriately naked while your neighbours can't see, whatever it is. And then the other two will critique or go and buy it immediately on Amazon. Links to everything we talk about are in the show notes below. And as is tradition, even in 2023, Jonathan, there is a hot potato for you there, my friend. What have you got, life hacks-wise?
Those fake life hacks that you just reeled off all sounded fantastic.
We should. Well, no, you did one about toasted sandwich. You did one about how to create the perfect toasted sandwich.
So
maybe about
real
2.5 years ago, yeah.
My God. I can't even remember my own life. I should maybe go back and be like, wow, what a great idea.
Yeah, exactly.
So my first one, well, you'll probably want to change what I say when I say this based on an email I received from you very recently. I was going to say, given the time of year, given what everybody will be doing, given it's the first one, it's the one everyone listens to, some sort of annual review process. So we've all used the Chris Sparks annual review, but I believe, Chris, do you have your own now?
I have taken a menage a trois from a bunch of different productivity thinkers.
Phenomenal.
David Perel, Chris Sparks was heavily influential, some stuff from the 6 Minute Diary, some other shit that I picked up online. And yeah, if you want to go and get that, you can go to chriswillx.com/review. It is not too late to do an annual review, even though it's the start of January. You can go and do that. It'll help you to go back over your last year and set goals for the new one. But yes, 100%. Doing an annual review, super, super important. Why do you do yours?
I think everybody tries to set people try to set like resolutions and goals and things like that. I think the review process, some of the questions that I like going over the most are like, what things in the year made you most happy? What things in the year did you enjoy doing the most? Who did you like spending time with the most? And then almost sticking those things in your calendar straight away. So like trips away, places you went, hobbies you picked up, things you stopped doing. It's just such an easy way, like things you would maybe, if you don't have a time to sort of sit and formally look back on a period of time and think, what should I do more of, do less of, add back in again? You can sometimes go years and think like, oh yeah, remember when we did that? That was really good fun. We should do it again. So that sort of process, looking through your camera reel when you're doing it, looking through your calendar when you're doing it, looking through message history and stuff with people, all ways to bring up prompts that you would maybe they would just drift into your past and you'd forget. And then doing that before you set any goals or targets or resolutions for the year, really helpful. But I think following something that's guided, specifically, that's the reason I mentioned it. So I think sitting with a blank document and reviewing your year, very difficult to do. Having kind of guided questions or prompts, very, very useful. So,
there's a section that I stole from David Perel that goes in the review that I talked about, where he has a favorite memory, favorite new city, favorite new song, favorite live show, favorite sex, like favorite interaction with an animal, like
like it's not the same thing.
Yeah, perhaps you'd hope not. But having that down is just, especially after you accumulate a few years of those, there's things that you'll definitely have forgotten that you've done, and you go back and you go, oh, fuck! Remember when we did that thing and I fell in love with zoos for 6 months?
I think that's the key. You said, Johnny, about things fading into the murky past, and then you look back and you're like, oh yeah, like this is why you just got to write stuff down. And there's nothing that will substitute for just physically going through a process and writing it down. Otherwise, like if you just think, oh yeah, my goal's this, guarantee in a year's time you'll have forgotten that it was even a goal, and you end up with one of two situations. Either you've totally smashed the goal and you look back on it and you're like, wow, I can't believe that was actually something I really wanted to hit, and now I've blasted straight past it because it seems so mundane. And if you just said that verbally, you would have forgotten, and you wouldn't really have felt like there was much progress. Or you set the goal and you didn't get anywhere near it, and you look back and you go, oh, I'm an utter twat for having not done anything to move towards that goal. Right, let's refocus, let's do it properly this year.
The other reason that you've got to do the review first before you set the goals is the goals manifest, they grow out of the review, right? If you end up setting a bunch of goals that help you to achieve a thing, which this year you looked back on and reflected as a negative experience, like I hate my time working on statistics and I want to move more into the creative realm. My goal for next year is to get another statistics qualification, because you haven't realized that statistics makes you miserable. You end up circling this sort of liminal purgatory of always doing the same thing badly.
And I think like the whole 80-20 analysis of why things are good or why things are bad. Let's say you've had a really good year in your career, for example. One of the questions in the review I was doing was saying, like, which habits do you think, if something's gone well, which habits do you think were responsible for that, or which actions were responsible for that? And when you really sit and think about it, it's usually stuff that you're like, oh yeah, it's probably just this.
What was yours?
So things like consistent sleep routine. Like this year, because I've been over to the US a couple of times and had my sleep like forced out of a rhythm for a few times. I think realizing that the days where I've struggled in general with anything, like training, productivity, concentration, anything, is just when my sleep is thrown out. So just I know it's like grandparent style advice, isn't it? Like get your 8 hours in. But I think just a reminder that like when things have gone well for me this year, my sleep's been really, really good.
Nice.
For example.
Yusef, what you got?
You might not be able to see it. There. See that little white box in the background?
Yes. What is it?
Leaning against the other white box,
yes.
Which is also a life hack.
What's the first one?
First white box is a red light therapy box. So that's from a company called Block Blue Light. We have a discount code as well, which is just Propane, but it's a way to offset something you just mentioned before we started, Chris, which was that it's 2:30 and it's starting to get dark in December in the north of England. So this is not quite a sad lamp. It's the other spectrum of red light, which you only get from sun exposure. It doesn't tan you. It has a completely different mechanism of action. These boxes do both red and infrared. And I recently did a review looking at how it affected my blood parameters, my inflammatory markers, my immune markers, and all that stuff. And surprisingly, because it seemed really gimmicky and really biohacky to shine a red light box, but the data is actually really compelling. And there's just multi-system benefits across immune, endocrine, mood, muscle recovery, just so much stuff from red light therapy. Buying a box is way more cost effective than going to a clinic that does red light therapy for £70 a session or something, because that thing costs about £400 and it'll obviously last you forever. So by the time you've had 5 treatments, you've broken even. So I think in terms of easy win, red light box is the one.
What's your protocol for using it?
10 minutes front and back. So there's different protocols depending on the strength of the light and how far away from you you're sitting and how deep the tissues are that you want to treat. So there's lots of variables to play around with. I've got a kind of a rough guideline on the video as well, but there's a book by Ari Whitten who goes deep with it, like really.
What's the TLDR? Just tell us what we need to know. Deep.
The TLDR is 10 minutes front and back, I think, unless you've got a particular area that you're looking to treat, and then you've got to consider like distance and wavelength and power transfer and all that stuff.
Why use a red light lamp and not a SAD lamp?
SAD lamp, different mechanism. So
should you be using both? Can you get something? Is there such a red light and SAD combination? For the people that don't know, that's seasonal affective disorder lamp. It's like a super bright lumen thing that's supposed to give you. That's more circadian rhythm, melatonin, cortisol mechanism, right?
Yeah, so that's more to wake up in the morning. So if you went, like if you're living somewhere in like Finland or Iceland or something, and you go out and there's just barely any sun, then you might need a SAD lamp. But generally, SAD is on the blue light spectrum, and I think we're already getting more than enough blue light from staring at screens all day. So personally, that's not something I would invest in. And then red light therapy is less to do with circadian regulation. It's more the kind of other benefits that you get from is cellular hormesis, melatonin mediated effects.
What did your blood markers say?
To be honest, they went from normal to normal, which I'm quite pleased about. There are people who have, in the data, there's dysfunctional thyroid that has normalized, and actually people coming off thyroxine entirely, which I think is insane, from using red light therapy on the thyroid in sort of targeted way. My inflammatory markers went down a little bit. I think my testosterone went up slightly, but not enough for me to say, it was definitely that caused that.
I also heard that certain types of red lamps don't actually produce the right type of red light. Mm-hmm. I'm going to guess that you've checked to make sure that the particular brand that you're using isn't just a red bulb.
That's a very good point. So there's a lot of cheap red light boxes that just shine a red light, and you think, that'll do. But there's only the specific wavelengths and power levels that you need, and a lot of the Chinese manufacturers will just produce something that looks like it's good and sell it for cheap. The manufacturer of this guy, I had a long chat with him and podcast where he goes into the process and the different kind of testing kits that he's got at home to when he goes to China and Taiwan and kind of discusses the specific specifications that he wants of the bulbs and makes sure that they are within the therapeutic range.
Very nice.
Just to add, it's something that, so it sounds pretty woo-woo, doesn't it? Like it sounds a bit strange sitting in front of a red light. I have been doing it, but I do 20 minutes all on my front because I can't be bothered to turn around halfway. It just feels nice. So I just do it while I meditate in the morning. Like, sort of technical benefits aside, I think if something feels nice and is a pleasant thing to do and makes you feel good afterwards, you probably keep doing it.
When you sat in front of an open fire?
Yeah, similar feeling.
Feels really like wholesome. It's the same thing. Like open fires radiate red and infrared as well.
Fantastic.
I've got something down there. I can't see what it's
a goose.
Called. No, not the fucking goose on the bed. I've got a red light over there. I got a pocket one, which is 3x4, so it's only like you would be able to carry it in a bag. And I really enjoyed that as well, sitting down and just having that on me. So I'm all for trying it. What's the company that you suggested and what's the code?
Block Blue Light, and the code is propane.
Cool. So, right. And what's that get you off?
That gets you 10% off, I believe. So they have a UK and a US, New Zealand, Australia website.
It's the same company. A while ago I mentioned I bought some red light glasses that worked. Same brands. If you want to pick up some of those that actually work as well, they are the same. It's the same manufacturer. Cool.
All right. So my one, this I used while I was in Vegas the other week, and it is remember the server's name. So the server will always come over and introduce themselves, or they'll usually have a name badge on. And it just makes such a difference. Being able to shout your server's name across a crowded room means, and using it consistently as well, thank you, Brittany, or thank you, whatever it is, means that you're going to get served first. You're going to probably get your drinks brought over and make sure it's going to be in the nicest glasses, make sure it's going to be using, everything is going to be done to a better standard if you remember their name. It means that you can get their attention when you need to check, when you need to do whatever. And it just actually feels quite polite. So it shocked me how much I hadn't bothered to remember the server's name. And it also shocked me how much of a difference it made in a crowded Las Vegas Strip Hard Rock Cafe at 8 p.m. at night on a Saturday. It surprised me how much of a difference it made. So remember the server's name.
Nice. How much has your attitude to tipping changed since you've gone stateside?
You're strong-armed into it, frankly. It's a struggle session. And I mean, I once went to a venue where I tipped the serving girl, I want to say 15% on a pretty large bill. So it was maybe 15% on a $50 round of drinks. And she looked at the paper, printed a new receipt out, turned it back around, pushed it toward me and said, let's try that again, shall we?
Wow.
Like she was quite sassy, so it was like funny or whatever in any case. But that happened. So
even with a high SASometer, that is cheeky.
SAS through the roof, man. Yeah, but it is what it is.
It's not really a tip then, is it? If 15% they're like, oh no, that's not good enough, sorry, then why? How is it optional?
Well, they'll do a lot of the time now. They have these iPads that pivot two ways. So the iPad is both the till for the server to use, and this is the same in Starbucks, in a bunch of whatever restaurant or quick use cafe, during which the serving staff have had zero input to do with the creation or service of your food. They've put it into a bag. It's like, hey, look, if you heat up a toasty, is that 5%? Is that 10%? But they'll flip it over, and on it, there's preset levels, sometimes like 15, 20, 25, custom, and they preset the numbers. So if it starts 20, 25, 30, and you go, well, if I go into custom and then say nothing, and then usually there's a queue of people behind you that can all see over your shoulder at what you're about to press, and then you've got to sign your name. How much of a stingy
bastard you are.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate it.
Very
Just
much a struggle
how
session.
much I need to pay. Like, don't give me options.
Look, it is what it is. Johnny, what you got?
Okay. I was just thinking about my tipping experience in Hawaii. It was very, very similar.
What happened?
Well, just that, the iPad thing, like the fixed. I don't remember there being a custom option. So I can remember standing in an airport in Hawaii, paying $50 for 2 like paninis and 2 coffees in a Starbucks because it was the only place to get breakfast. So you're $50 50 in basically at that point, and then they twizzle the iPad and go, how much would you like? Not would you like to tip? How much would you like to tip? You're thinking
getting emotionally blackmailed into paying more.
Yeah, it's just tough. So this one is something I've been doing with training recently, and it's something I've just found kind of my training's been very like bodybuilding focused, like not powerlifting anymore really. And I find like doing 3-4 sessions a week, the same routine every week, a little bit dull. So I took a 4-session program, and this is not really a life hack, but it's been really interesting for me. It's made training more fun. I take 4 sessions a week of a training split but I only train 3 times a week. So every week is different. Like it rotates it every week. So I think it's like a month to do the full cycle. That's helpful. And secondly, if you've been training a while, like more than a couple of years, everybody's run into that problem where you can only do an exercise for like 3-4 times before you're just running up against like hitting the same reps and the same load, and it's very, very hard to progress. So taking something and spreading it over like 8, 9, 10 days extends that cycle and makes it slightly easier to eke a little bit more out of a training program. So, and you can do it obviously with anything, right? So 5 days into 4, 4 days into 3, 3 days into 2, whatever you want to do.
Are you actually compressing the days down, or of a 4-day split, are you only doing 3, which means that the following week it's back, legs, and chest, and then the week after that is arms, back, and legs?
Yeah. So week 1 is like ABC. Week 2 is D, A, B,
yes,
etc.
Yeah.
And it just keeps it interesting because every week, even though it's because you kind of build that association of like, well, Monday is the day when I do like bench and then cable fly, and then that no longer exists. So each week you're doing a different combination. Tiny change, but has quite a big effect. I found like recovery progression keeps it interesting.
Nice, I like that.
Totally free as well.
Seth,
this one is from Dr. Alice, the volcanologist, which is to eat the most boring meal of the day post-workout. So the day where you've got the most points to spend the meal where you've got the most points to spend should really be like the evening where you can enjoy it socially. Usually your post-workout meal is kind of it's just a utility meal. So have the most boring meal of the day there where you check all of your nutritional boxes to save some of the fun calories for later.
Would there not be an argument that if you're eating, you should try and avoid any of the meals being boring, that you don't need to necessarily have boring nutritional meals?
Sometimes it's unavoidable. If you see your
Give
total
me an
day
example
is
of a kind of meal that is unavoidably boring.
Yusef's not having to defend a life hack that isn't his.
It's not even mine.
You submitted it. You want to stand up for this lady.
True. Someone who, if you've got micronutrient targets or certain vegetable intake or something, the other way to think of it, though, as you say, is to, if you're going to play around with the goalposts, is to say, just train before you go out for a social meal, and then you can have an exciting social meal with the most calories in post-workout.
Mm. What are you doing with your diet at the moment, Jonny?
What am I doing with it? What do you mean?
Are you tracking anything?
Yeah. So I'm trying to get down to 89 kilos from 94. So I've kind of done my weight loss in 2 phases. So phase 1 was when I was like 105, took it down to 95, and I was like, right, I'm done with dieting for a while. So from like July of this year just passed, or last year, if you listen to this, up to now, and then I'm going to try and get down to sub 90.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Should be quite lean at sub 90. But that involves tracking, which actually links to one of my hacks.
Well, you can
so
hang fire, because I've got one that I've been playing around with since I've been in Austin, and it's have multiple gym memberships. So I'm spoiled for choice in Austin with like Onnit Training Center, Atomic Athlete, Lift ATX, tons of gold gyms all over the place. There's this place called Los Campeones, which is like a dreamland for lifting in. And most of them in big cities, at least that I've seen in America, that are quite competitive like this, are about $40. So it's maybe $40 or $50 to get a good membership at one of these spit and sawdust style bodybuilding type gyms. And my current armory setup of gyms is one with very broad open and close times. So that's the commercial gym. Usually for me, that's a Gold's. It's also the one that's got the quietest atmosphere. It means that I can go in and listen to stuff, prep for work, usually episodes while I'm in there training. Then I've got one that I can go and train with my boys, which is Lift ATX. That's spit and sawdust, gangster rap, and Slipknot. And that's like a really cool, very social, open gym. That's good. And then the final one is a gym that has group classes if I need to externalize motivation, and that's Onnit at the moment, or Atomic Athlete would be another one. You don't need to have this entire like armory portfolio of gyms, but it is good to have at least 2. I think Dean has had this problem since he's been back in Newcastle. He's between Newcastle and Middlesbrough, and he's training at Reebok CrossFit Tyneside, which a year ago he loved, and now he's bored of, and he wants to go somewhere new. But a year ago, he really loved Reebok CrossFit Tyneside, and a lot of people, I think, have fallen out of love with their training when what they've done is fallen out of love with their gym. You just need to be in a new environment with new music, different machines, different people to talk to, different routes to get there, and you would be surprised how much extra energy you can inject into your training if you just train in a new location.
I like the different moods of workout as well, where you've got the set type of session where you just need to get it done, you've got other stuff on your mind, and then you've got like the social session, and so being able to choose that, it's a lot to coordinate, but I can see the utility in it.
What does your training look like if you've got like, it sounds almost like different training modalities as well?
Yeah, it is, but it's just moving as much as I can, getting as much sunlight as I can, not trying to stick to any one program too rigidly, and just enjoying training and stuff. So mostly bodybuilding style things, some high intensity stuff, and then 2 sessions of pickleball a week for kind of outright cardio, and then sitting on the exercise desk when I can, when I remember it.
Is the goal just enjoy it?
Be healthy.
Yeah.
Be healthy, enjoy it.
Cool.
Put on a good bit of size with Zach throughout the back end of this year doing bro splits in lift, but we both started to just get a bit lethargic and training got a little bit boring, so we've now added in these group classes on it a little bit.
This is postmenopausal symptoms.
Oh, again. Yeah, well, I vacillate back and forward. I become premenopausal again, and then I go back through it all over again.
I saw you doing some incline bench with Ollie from Bring Me the Horizon.
Did do some incline bench with Ollie.
I was pretty impressed. I think you were doing like 100 kilos or so.
100 pounds.
Oh, was it?
It'll be pounds. Definitely not 100 kilos. 100 kilos per arm?
No, on an incline barbell bench press.
Oh, yeah.
So you were doing 100 kilos?
I was, yeah.
I think that's pretty good, Chris.
Thank you. We have been lifting a lot this year. We put on a lot of size this year. Just eating like an arsehole as well. Just eating everything in sight, like constant desserts. It's not been the highest quality calories. So I'm going to try and dial that back in this year. There's a real difficulty I have blending the mental sharpness I get from intermittent fasting with the lack of physical degradation that I get from having like regular meals that are of high quality throughout the day. I find it very difficult to maintain a good physique whilst doing anything close to a hard intermittent fast.
Well, Chris, have you thought about having your most boring meal of the day?
He's got you there.
I knew
That's
it was going to
checkmate.
come full circle eventually. Right, Johan, what have you got? Give us.
So it's a triple pronged hack.
I love it.
Which is 3 things in unison. I think I've 2 of them have definitely been mentioned before. So the first one is something that I actually heard on Modern Wisdom, recommendation from Derek, More Plates, More Dates, which is to take like a standard day of eating. So it's the setup you would normally have on like a regular day. Plug it into something called Cronometer, which is an app that's iOS, Mac app. I'm sure it exists for Android as well. And it just scores you based on your micronutrient profile. So just as an RDA percentage, where are you short on like vitamin C, A, D, K, etc. It is extremely difficult to get anywhere close. I don't know whether anyone's ever tried this before. It's something Yusef and I have spoken about. Way harder than you'd think to do that. The thing, however, it's so cool to see it. So you put in your normal food intake for the day, and then it's got like pre-saved. It's got quite a few popular supplement brands. So you plug in an athletic green serving, and everything goes from being like 5%, 10%, 10% to like 300%, 300%, 300%. So first hack is like if you are trying to improve your diet in the new year, which so many people do, I do think it's important to look at the macronutrient and the micronutrient profile. Stick an average day into Cronometer and see where you fall. Second thing is athletic greens, still using it, which is a hell of a testament.
Yep.
And then the third thing, which is another tip that I gave a while ago, which is something else I'm still using over a year later, is MacroFactor for tracking macros. That app is getting better they've just done another update. The guys behind that really know what they're doing. And with MyFitnessPal, just making some features premium. If you're finding that annoying, like the barcode scanner being a premium feature, and you want something
Perfect
else.
storm. Like MyFitnessPal managed to trip over their own feet at the same time as a major competitor stepped into the ring.
Why not use Cronometer for everything? Why have Cronometer to do micros and MacroFactor for macros?
It's just not got the best database of popular brand items, Cronometer. And MacroFactor's not. MacroFactor has micronutrient profiles, but it's not quite as good as Cronometer. So Cronometer is good for like inserting the single ingredients once and like doing that process once. But if I'm going to have like a dinner at a restaurant, the chances of it being in Cronometer are very slim. I tested it because ideally that would be what you would do, right? But yeah, the database and also the functionality on MacroFactor is way beyond that. It'll even adjust your macros for you if you want it to.
Is that the thing when we went for a avocado salad in Heaton a few months ago, Yusef, that you just spoke it into your phone? Yeah. You said, record one avocado salad with an egg, and then it just came up and put it in.
Yeah, so that's a great feature. I feel like we've not even mentioned.
Yeah, I haven't even mentioned that.
Yeah, so it's got like an AI recognition thing. So you could say, roast chicken dinner with potatoes and whatever, and it'll generate it and it'll give you suggested servings, and you go, oh yeah, I think that's about right, and you can add it in. I think we have a code for that as well, but it's just for an extended trial.
Yeah, they don't do any discounts, sadly. But yeah, they do a 7 or 14-day trial. So good.
How much is membership if you want to stick about after that?
60 quid a year or something like that.
Yeah.
So not much if that's going to be the basis of your tracking.
Yeah. So if you've used something like MyFitnessPal or something like that in the past, and you want an equivalent, and you also want it to adjust your macros for you, it also gives you like an estimated end date so you plug in like your target weight, it recommends some calories for you, it tells you how long your diet's going to be, and it adjusts your macros each week based on what your weight changes do.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
I heard that, is it Mike Israetel has got, no, it's not. It's Zach's friend from Thingy Strength that has a
great name.
I can't remember the fucking name of it.
RP Strength.
Maybe that has an AI lifting program now.
Oh, Juggernaut
Training Systems. Thank you.
Yeah.
And he's basically created a scalable, completely leverageable, ultimately scalable, personalized training platform.
Yeah, so I've given that a try. It's pretty impressive. I don't use it personally, but I've seen some examples of some quite high level powerlifters using it and peaking for it. And I think so. The guys, the sort of the developer guy behind it, I think is called Garrett Blevins. I think his name is. Who's a US on the US powerlifting team. Who's just coded an app for a bit of a side giggle.
Now he's making crazy cash.
Mad bank.
Right,
yeah.
Yusef, what you got?
Can I just wedge in a post hack for Johnny's there, which is also, if you're not very inventive with meal planning, use Eat This Much. So either an app or a website, eatthismuch.com. And you just say, I'm having breakfast or dinner or lunch. And it says, do you like blueberries? Do you like almonds, whatever? And it'll just generate you things that you should eat as a meal plan. It's very good. So my hack is the wobbly sausage. I recently...
What are you brandishing at us?
This is my wobbly sausage.
Okay.
It's a Theraband, I believe. It's not going to go in focus, is it?
No.
I've been plagued with elbow problems over the last few months, and this has been the only thing that's helped to fix it. So if you're someone who does a lot of things like weighted chin-ups and heavy rows and stuff that just really aggravates that bit of your elbow, it's possible, because I'm living proof, to get golfer's elbow without having ever played golf, and tennis elbow without having ever played tennis. So, and it's so painful, and it gets to the point where using your handbrake in your car or opening jars and stuff is exquisitely painful. So the wobbly sausage is brilliant. Just something that you can then do negatives with. You can do lots of reps, and it does, you get a pump on exactly the area that is sore.
So for the people that are listening and not able to see what it is that you're brandishing at us, you're not using this as a soft tissue tool. You're using a kind of rolling pin, flexible rolling pin, to actually do movements forward and back with your wrists.
Yeah, using it as twisty, or you can use it as actual wobbly. This is genuinely one of the exercises.
Yeah. Let's go steady with that one, shall we? I don't want to get demonetized.
I don't believe you. You said that's one of the exercises.
So the guide even had one where you get a band and you hold it with your right hand, stand on it with your left foot, and then you do that overhead to try and stabilize your shoulder.
Wow. I mean, I'm sure that you understand the mechanism that's going on. Why does golfer's elbow occur? What's happening?
So it's been debated, because it used to be the theory that it was an inflammatory process, and now we think it's to do with the tendon matrix getting disrupted. But it can just it's probably a combination of tissue level and sensitization events happening at that point. But it's just so localized and so painful that anything you do starts picking the scab with it. So part of the goal is to stretch it away, work through the pain a little bit, get after you've recovered, to desensitize yourself to the area, but then also to strengthen the area through doing lots of negatives and wobbly sausage.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask what the fucking mechanism was. If you were going to say, it looks like a miniature foam roller, right? It looks like a tiny little foam roller. I was going to say, what are you actually doing? If you're going to go back and then do the same exercise again, how are you expecting a different result if all you've done is loosen up the area? This was what I got red pilled by Sam Spinelli, the strength therapist, about a little while ago. We're going to have to explain that. So we're laughing because Dr. Sam Spinelli had a handle on Instagram called The Strength Therapist. Now, one of the problems, if you write out The Strength Therapist all in one word without capital letters, you can also spell The Strength the Rapist. And it seems like he became aware of this after a while and changed it to @Dr. Sam Spinelli. Anyway, what he taught me was that soft tissue feels nice but doesn't make a massive amount of difference to long-term injury.
Unfortunately, it's a way to kind of get temporary access to a new range of motion, or a new kind of pain-free range that you then have to do something with. You can't just do the foam rolling and then be like, I've done the work now.
What's the brand of that thing again for people that want to check it out?
It is Theraband.
They're quite a big
OGs.
company. They seem like that seems like an oddly brand name purchase for you, Yusef, that you would have probably tried to get from Alibaba.
I just thought I'm not making any shortcuts with my elbow. I've wrestled with this problem enough. Yeah. I got the greeny blue. I don't know what you call that. Turquoise one.
Yeah.
There's different levels. This is the medium, I believe, and I think it's just about right for rehab.
Don't regret not getting a stronger one?
No, because I think if you go too hard with it, you're just kind of picking the scab further with the injury.
That's such a nuanced topic about when you look at resistance bands and other the density of foam rollers. Do I want extra firm? Do I want firm? Do I want medium? Because there's no gradient that you can actually test until you get it. And the number of times that you get it and go, for fuck's sake, this is way too soft or way too light. I'm going to have to basically just buy another one.
Have you ever gone too hard? I think I got the Captain of Crush and I got like level 4 or something, thinking, this will be, and it's like, I looked into it and you're like, like 3 people in the world have ever closed it. And you're like, great.
Or if you like accidentally get if you're trying to get like a resistance band to do some shoulder rehab with, and you get something that's too much, and you can't even get it past like
yeah. But then one that's totally pointless that you can basically see through is also useless. Like, I'm just flinging a piece of single sheet of toilet paper around.
Yeah,
like
just move my elbow.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, hack productivity with the Zeigarnik effect by leaving sentences part finished. We've spoken about the Zeigarnik effect before. It is a psychological bias that was discovered by this guy who was studying waiters and waitresses in restaurants, and he was very impressed. It's super impressive when you see someone that comes up and asks you your order and doesn't write anything down and they're just looking at you while you say it. This lady did it in Vegas for an entire table of 10 people, drinks, starters, and mains, didn't write a single thing down, nothing was wrong, and it all came out to the right people as well. It's like, fucking hell. Like, that's 20% to 25% tip worthy. Like, if you want to do, like, to give us a bit of a flourish, you do some card tricks or sing or something. But what this guy realized is that the servers had an unbelievably accurate ability to recall what each table had ordered while the orders and checks were still open. And as soon as the checks had gone, their ability to remember things had completely vanished. It's the same as anyone who, like me at university, crammed for exams. You'll be able to remember really, really closely what it is, all of the different accounting principles or whatever that you've been researching. And yet, as soon as the exam's done and that loop is closed, everything's gone. And this is the same reason that Netflix shows use cliffhangers at the end of them to get you to watch the next one, because the human mind abhors this sort of open loop and it likes a closed loop. So it's the open and closed loop dynamic that we've got. And the way that you can use this to hack productivity is give yourself an easier in when you go to restart a project. And this is something Michael Malice does as a writer. I know a bunch of my other writer friends do as well, that they leave sentences part finished as they close the day out, which means that when they then begin the next day, it's really easy. How hard is it to finish a sentence? Like you're basically up and running already, and then before you know it, you're writing. It also means that your open loop system is a little bit more activated throughout the remainder of the break between doing the project again, finishing it and doing it again. So you're thinking about it a bit more. You're considering what it is that you need to do. So I do that with some of the stuff that I'm starting to write now. I'm starting to do some longer form stuff. And leaving sentences part finished is a nice solution.
Nice. So you're not having to start the day and kind of crack the shell of the task, and it's
fucking finishing something at the end of a chapter, you know, and you go, okay, let's start this new chapter now. Really, really difficult. It's hard enough to begin a task in any case. It's just a case of making it as easy as possible for you to get going, I think.
I think we discussed the idea of dentists when you come in the room and they go, hello, sir, sit down. And then you open your mouth and they go, Lewis, how are the kids? Like, because they recognize the particular configuration of fillings and teeth that you've got. And that's what jogs their memory, because that's the way that they see the world.
That's not one that I remember happening. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to see David Breton actually in a couple of weeks' time before I go back to Texas. So if he starts remembering things about me as soon as I open my mouth, we'll know that that's true. Johan.
Context-specific learning.
Andrew Huberman, who is a alumnus of the Modern Wisdom podcast, has a sleep cocktail. Have either of you tried it?
Magnesium L-threonate.
Chris has tried
L-theanine.
Yep.
Apigenin.
Yep.
And sometimes not GABA.
and glycine.
GABA.
Oh,
GABA.
the glycine thing I haven't tried yet.
So I haven't tried the GABA because Yusef scared me about GABA.
We used to GABA a lot.
In Z12.
Yeah, back in the day.
How often have you gabbed?
Oh,
So
I got through a bottle of GABA.
I
I gave it to my brother, and he ended up getting withdrawal. I gave it to him. I was like, "Listen, Habibi, don't take this every day. Every couple of days." And then, of course, he didn't. He ignored me. Took 2 every day, and then at the end of the month, he's like, "I need some more of that stuff. I can't sleep at all. I'm really anxious." And I'm like, I told you, man.
I'm fucking telling you, bro. Stop taking that shit.
So
it's
I remember Yusef realizing there was GABA in this supplement we used to take from T Nation, and being like, "Whoa, that's a sledgehammer." So I haven't even added that in, but the rest of it I have. And my goodness me, do you get a good night's sleep with that cocktail of things?
Have you split tested it on Whoop?
I haven't. But I mean,
are you still using Whoop?
No.
Well, that's why you haven't done it.
Well,
you'll be back. You'll be back partway through 2023.
Maybe.
I'm sure.
The thing that's good about Whoop, I mean, not to sidetrack this, is exactly for stuff like this. So it's activating it for. I don't think I get that much out of it when I do the same things day in, day out, because it's just there's a flux in your scores, and you're like, well, I'm not going to change my training. But if you want to add something new in, like red light therapy, for example, or new sleep supplements, doing it for like 2 months and testing it just to see, like, is there any move in the numbers, is very useful. But with the sleep cocktail thing, it's almost at the point where it's like, it's as clear as day to me that it makes a difference. Like, I don't know what your experience with it was, Chris, but I've had a lot of sleep supplements. I've had ZMA, obviously the Z12 stuff, 5-HTP, MyProtein sleep cocktails. They kind of help, but they don't really. I think I immediately fall asleep, and then I just feel like I'm asleep the entire night. No issues.
My sleep's been the best that it's been throughout this year, and it's fluctuated due to all of the travel. But I'm a big fan. I haven't used the glycine, so for brands, I'll let you put yours forward. But certainly in America and maybe in the UK as well, a company called DoubleTree. They are massive on Amazon. Everything seems to be double third-party tested, comes with a bunch of credentials and stuff. That's where I get my magnesium L-threonate from, my apigenin, and my... Is that how I say it? I feel like
apigenin, I think.
Apigenin, yeah. I'm definitely saying it like a pigeon. And
which is... I'm pretty sure, Yusef, you mentioned that's an opiate?
Possibly.
It's a thing in chamomile tea.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, no, I don't know if apigenin is, but chamomile tea is a mild opiate.
Well, L-theanine is present in green tea.
Green tea, yeah.
Yeah. Gives you some funky dreams.
Yeah, well, I mean, L-theanine's really great, neuroprotective, seems to be good for dealing with stress and anxiety. Some people take it during the morning as well, which it's also useful to take with caffeine, to take the jitters off the edge of caffeine. What's the brands that you've gone for? What's the dosage you go for? And where did you get your glycine from?
I just got it all on Amazon. I can get the links of stuff. Yep. I got it, to be honest, I went on Amazon and I went for brands that I either recognized or had like really good reviews and like a high number of reviews on. It was a lot cheaper than I was expecting it to be, getting all the individual ingredients, and a lot of like the theanine, there's like 180 days in a bottle or something like that. It's crazy.
I've still got that apigenin from the first time I started using it, because they're tiny little capsules, right? Mm-hmm. The magnesium L-threonate is what you go through at a ridiculous rate. Yeah. So you need to get I've found that you need to get about 3 bottles of the magnesium for every one of the other 2. Glycine, is it any type of glycine? I haven't used that.
It's very generic and cheap, so it's just an amino acid.
Yeah.
The reason that they say to cycle it is that the data shows like an increase in sleep quality on the first night that you use it, and then not so much afterwards. So the rationale, Huberman's rationale, will be to cycle it so that you kind of resensitize to it.
Are you cycling? Because I don't, but should you be cycling magnesium L-threonate, apigenin, and the L-theanine?
Personally, with anything like that that's going to enhance something, I just think a broad principle should be to cycle stuff. The only thing that I maybe wouldn't is anything that's vitamin or pseudo-vitamin. So creatine, no need to cycle. But things that are like anti-stress, sleep, adaptogens, anything like that, I would cycle.
So magnesium you wouldn't cycle then if it's a...
Magnesium I wouldn't, yeah.
Wouldn't. But and glycine you wouldn't?
Although I was slightly hypermagnesiemic from my last blood test, which shows I was like scooping it in. So...
What do you use on an evening time, Yusef? Because I imagine you don't subscribe to this kind of cocktail.
Quackery.
I've been rotating magnesium sources just because I know some people are proper magnesium perverts, but I've just got some currently magnesium chloride powder or crystal that I just
unflavored,
yeah.
Dry scoop.
Hang on, that you what? What do you do with it?
It just dries. I put it into water or something, but
not your mouth.
To be honest, very irresponsible of me. Please don't take this as medical advice because I just haven't been weighing it out. I just sort of eyeball it, which is a terrible thing to do with a mineral, and it's why I ended up magnesiemic.
You eyeball. That's like the studies where people have like accidentally had 30 grams of caffeine and ended up in A&E.
That was that person in Northumbria University, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For the people around the world who don't know the university we're talking about, there's 2 unis in the city that we all live in, and they did a study on caffeine, and somebody accidentally, was it 100 times the dose?
Yeah, it's meant to be 300 milligrams, I believe.
And they gave them 30 grams of caffeine.
Which, like, there's so many steps that you would realize that that's wrong, that they just managed to somehow miss. Well, I think not only the fact that it's so bitter, even if you have 300 milligrams of caffeine powder in a pint of water, you can taste it. Like, it's really nasty. You
taste it in 3 liters of water. It's such a strong... But the 3 of us would have seen the pile on the heaped protein scoop of caffeine and gone, I think that's a bit much caffeine.
Fucking hell. Okay, Andrew Huberman's sleep cocktail, I'm completely in. I've used it throughout this year.
If you just Google that, by the way, if you just Google Andrew Huberman sleep cocktail, you'll find like all the recommendations, what to cycle, what not to cycle, all the dosages and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. What was it?
Very, very good.
Something else that...
Something sleepy.
Oh, that was it. So Derek from More Plates, More Dates, his Gorilla Mode company has done a version of Huberman's sleep cocktail.
Okay.
But the one thing they did was put melatonin in it. I'm like, mate, come on.
Come on.
Oh, come on, son. So I think he's going to redo another version where melatonin isn't in it. The problem is the Americans are so fucking pro melatonin. It is insane because you can buy it over the counter. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it wherever. You can't get it on prescription in the UK. It's basically impossible to get on prescription, and yet it's sold over the counter in America because, like, whoa, drugs. And that just means that people, they'll lump it in with every, like, cake mix.
Was it you? I think it was last Life Hacks where you were talking about, like, getting something like 500 ibuprofens in a tub.
Maybe. I mean, they do those. They don't do the blister pack thing very much. If you want to kill yourself by taking drugs in America, it's pretty easy because you just go into CVS and they've just got these
a big vat.
Yeah, exactly. These protein powder sized boxes. And you just chinkle in all of these.
All the adverts. Hey, do you wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night? Then maybe you need
melatonin. Maybe you need 20 milligrams of melatonin every day. Anyway,
I got some in Hawaii and they were like 2 milligram gummies.
Yep.
And when I asked Yusef's recommendation for dose, he was like, cut it into quarters. Have maybe one quarter, and then maybe have a second if you need to.
What's the 30-second red pill on melatonin dosage, Seth?
So melatonin, the best effect from it is from it basically starting the lead domino of your natural endogenous melatonin production. So you shouldn't be trying to like substitute. It's not like testosterone replacement where you're just like taking the full lot. It's just to get it going. And that's why it's got this inverted U curve dose response. So there's like a midpoint where about 1 milligram seems to be optimal, and then more than that or less than that is less effective.
And they sell 10 milligram, 20 milligram tablets of melatonin.
Just for lols.
In CVS. You're fucking
just,
idiots.
Yeah.
Right. Yusef, what have you got?
When you are giving a speech or dealing with a client or dealing with a patient or anything, and you get lost in the middle of something, a great hack is just to put yourself in context. So if I was drawing a blank now, So we're currently talking about life hacks in general. We've gone through some physical ones, some digital ones. Chris and Johnny have given their suggestions, and now we're on to mine. And often that alone just jogs your memory and gets you going again. So if you're in the middle of a speech and you're like, oh, and the audience appreciate it as well. It's not as if it looks bad, because the audience is like, oh, great, like we're back in context again. Let's just show everyone where we are in the map, and then here's where we are going next.
I really like that.
It's brilliant. That's saved my ass a lot of times.
Alex O'Connor does something kind of similar. It's not, I don't, it may be to cover up when he loses his place, but he does, he asks a rhetorical question that makes it obvious about where he's going to go next. So let's say that he was doing some video about Jordan Peterson's views on veganism or something, and he would say something along the lines of, so you might ask yourself, why would it be the case, given everything that we know about Jordan's beliefs around humanity needing to be as generous and kind as possible, that he would not have decided to adopt a plant-based diet? Well, the reason for that is da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And like all of that, what he's done is he's created a question that he can answer himself. He's opened a loop. You want him to answer it. Like he's like interviewing himself. I very much, and he does that when he's doing his YouTube videos. He'll go off script to do that, to then go back on script. And you can do it with all of the naturalistic language that you need. You can do all the rest of it. It's a really, really, and Zach started putting that same tactic into his videos on YouTube too. It's like, so you might think like, why would someone do this? Well, the reason that you could say perhaps they might do this is da-da-da-da-da, and then you're back on script. So you've just veered off and come back on. But it's just easy to inject. You do that 1 or 2 times per talk. No one's going to notice, but it's a really good tactic.
Nice. I love that.
Good one.
Okay. I guess given the fact that Johnny's just spoken about the sleep stuff, I might as well throw this in. So I did 500 days without caffeine. I then reintroduced caffeine back into my use, but wanted to maintain the current level of sensitivity that I have to caffeine. And most importantly, not reintroduce the dependence that I had to caffeine. Alex Hormozy has this fucking amazing quote when it comes to reliance on substances, caffeine in particular, that says, if you can't perform without it, it's stopped conferring a benefit. And you're like, look, that is the way that most people view caffeine. They don't use it to improve performance. They use it to get themselves back to zero. And it's no longer assisting you. It's no longer a performance enhancer. It's just buttressing what you do with your life. So for me, the best way to do it is just every other day caffeine use. And the reason that it works as a rule is I can always remember if I had caffeine yesterday, and if I did, I can't have it today. That's it. It also means if I'm thinking about having caffeine today, I actually have to make a scarcity calculation about how much do I need it today and how much might I need it tomorrow. If I need it in 2 days' time, it doesn't really matter. But if I'm going to need it tomorrow more than I'll need it today, I won't take it now.
I do exactly that. I'm like planning 2-3 days ahead of like, oh no, if I have one today, then that's 2 days in a row, so I can't do an odd number.
Every other day caffeine.
You can borrow from tomorrow then. So if I'm not just supposed to have any today, and I'm supposed to have some tomorrow, but I need it today more than tomorrow, can I borrow from tomorrow?
Not if you've had it yesterday. Can't ever have it 2 days in a row.
But you could go more than 2 days without caffeine, for example. So
yes, like you can go more than 2 days without, but you can't go more than 2 days in a row with.
I see.
Unless you create like a really complicated credit system with a spreadsheet of like, okay, I'm this many in reserve and
I've banked this many days. No, but this is the reason that it's super easy, because you can't do 2 in a row, but you can do 2 without in a row. And that's it. You just hold on to that. And it's meant that I'm still taking, so Killcliff, it looks like we might be doing some work with them next year. Massive fan of what they do. Natural, no preservatives, no additives, no nothing else, flash pasteurized, blah, 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 loads of L-theanine. They do a 25 milligram drink, which is basically just, I mean, it's half a cup of coffee, and it's just about enough to give you a little push, especially if you're sensitive with it, like I am at the moment, for non-physical activities. 25 mgs is about right for me to go down and do some mental work. And then if I want to train, they do a 90 and a 125, and Jocko Go also is a 90 mgs. Perfect. Like, and that, I feel the hell out of that. Like, seeing people walk around with a Bang Energy that's 350 milligrams of caffeine just blows my mind. Zach will go and get a Rain Energy, 300 milligrams of caffeine before we go and train. And I can, like, I get caffeinated by watching him drink it. So, yeah, every other day caffeine use, really, really good.
So you must be pretty damn sensitive to it then.
Yeah,
if
crazy sensitive. I mean,
so if you had like 3 or 4 coffees in a day, how would you feel the sensitivity? Is it in just like jitters, anxiety?
I've never had it. I've since I've come back on, I've never had. I think the most I've ever had in a day has been 2 25 milligram drinks.
But if you scoot back to like pre 500 day with the episode,
I can't remember because my sensitivity was just so high. Right, it was so low, should I say. I was so desensitized to the effect of caffeine. I can't remember what it was like. But it would make me, if I overshoot it, it makes me jittery. It makes me anxious. I can't focus. And I don't need it. Like my energy levels are not determined by the caffeine concentration in my blood anymore. And this is the big thing about caffeine, that it's papering over the cracks in the issues that your daily routine has created. Like people are using caffeine to get themselves past the 11 a.m. slump, but never having to ask themselves, why the fuck am I tired at 11 a.m.? Like, dude, you're not supposed to be tired and fatigued and needing your adenosine system to be completely hijacked by a massive energy drink at 11:30 a.m. Maybe it's because you're not sleeping enough. Maybe it's because you're not getting enough daylight. Maybe it's because you're not spending enough time outside. Whatever.
It's pathological. I'm gonna bank a couple of caffeine related hacks for after Johnny's.
All right.
Okay.
Johan.
Okay, cool. Mine's more just like a behavioral thing. So I have found, I think probably everybody struggles with this. Like you have a long list of boring things to do. You've got like something to tidy the house or something like that, or do some admin. Even just if you're putting off a training session, it's something that I've always kind of done it in some way, but the first time I really experienced the effect of just having like a totally arbitrary deadline was actually when I was trying to do the CrossFit Open when you were there, Chris, and you were just like 5, 4, 3, and I just found myself, even though I was shattered, like you're just like, oh well, there's the countdown. I suppose I better get back to doing what I was doing. So you having just this arbitrary thing that just encourages you to just get going again. So being like playing around with that to encourage me to do things that I'm putting off. So you've got like a list of boring tasks that you've got to do, and you've got a phone call that's happening at 1 o'clock. Challenge yourself to do as many of them as you can before 1 o'clock, or even sometimes waiting until you've only got an hour to train. Like, you know, your training session is going to take you an hour. I know that at 11:30, I'm going to have 1 hour exactly to train. Otherwise I'll miss my training session. Suddenly you find yourself like in the gym, powering through it, getting it done in 45 minutes. So kind of creating these, like almost turning things into a bit of a game. It's a bit childish, but makes such a difference to things that are otherwise very boring and could easily have taken all day. And I know it's Parkinson's laws and lots of other ways of kind of viewing these things. But when you've got stuff you don't want to do, turn it into a bit of a game, set a random and arbitrary deadline, and suddenly becomes like even fun.
That's
sometimes. So something I really admire about you, Johnny, and this is parallel to Parkinson's law, is, you know, the effect of when like you're at home and you've got a train to catch at 4:15. So, but it's 3:15, and so you're thinking, well, I've got an hour, but I can't really do anything proper. And then there's like half an hour before you have to leave, and you're like, well, like I'm in this limbo. Johnny will always just be like, oh, I'll just do a thing, like something, you know, even if you have to record a module or something that I would consider quite heavy project work, and you'll be like, oh, it's fine, like I just need to leave at that time and I'll just do it anyway. Whereas I get very much caught in limbo mode and end up doing like emails or shallow work.
Well, that was something that I still use from you, which is having a holding pattern activity. So in between, I've had a lot of calls over the last few months, and sitting down and waiting, and the call finishes 10 minutes before your next call. Really, what are you going to do? It's not even long enough for me to do a loop of the park next to where I live. That's 13 minutes and 30 seconds, door to door. So I'm like, right, well, iPad or Kindle next to my desk means that instead of picking up my phone, I might pick up a book. Maybe I'll read for a little bit. Or emails, I think, is actually the best use of your time for this, because you can chip away at your emails in such an easy bite-sized form. I'm going to try. Email's been a real issue for me. So if anyone has some great life hacks around emails, please send them over. To try and make email less of an entire day thing. Currently 120 unread emails, all of which need in-depth replies that need me to get a calendar out or link other stuff or submit a form or do some shit. how are you gamifying common boring tasks? Like just saying, I've got half an hour to do these, I need to get these done. Is there anything else?
So it depends what it is, but I'll always try and pair it with something that's fun or enjoyable. So like emails that require a long, complex reply, it's a little bit different, but I'll have a 30-minute batch. I'm like, right, I've got 30 minutes, I've got to call it X. I've got like a predefined list of all these things, and I know that like really bitty, like renew my car tax, pay this thing, reset this insurance, whatever it is. I'll stick a whatever I'm listening to, podcast, course, whatever on in the background, set a timer for 30 minutes, and just try and get all of them done in the time. And it turns it into this like you've got to do it anyway. Like you've got to do those things at some point anyway. You either do them or you don't do them. So if you're going to do them, you might as well try and compress it and make it take the least of your day possible. Turn it into a bit of a challenge. And pair it with something that like takes the edge off. So like listen to a podcast or even just your favorite album or whatever. But yeah, I think forcing yourself to, it's something I think it was like a Tim Ferriss tip from years ago, which was like create positive constraints in your day. So like make plans at 4 p.m. that force you to finish work by 4 p.m. or set things that happen throughout your day that are fixed, that mean that suddenly you've not got all morning to do something, you've got 90 minutes to do something, and you'll still do it. And it turns it into a bit of a challenge. Or you still always fit your training in multiple times a week, even if you're really busy. You just kind of find the time and make it take a little bit less time in the gym.
Having this using big amorphous fucking work blob just allows everything to bleed into everything else. Yeah, you need structure. Yeah. You really do. I like that a lot. That's good. I think calling people while you're doing like house tasks is another really good one, or obviously listening to a podcast if you don't have anybody to call, or if you can't be bothered. If you've got to fold clothes or sort shit out or whatever, you're off to print some stuff and return some parcels, like just ring someone and it's going to make it a little bit less shit, and you've got to do it in any case.
Definitely.
Yusef.
So we're winding back to caffeine. If you've been convinced by Chris's argument there to just stop relying on caffeine, if you're one of these people who you're like, oh, actually my energy levels are dictated by my serum caffeine levels, or I can't function without it, the first thing you can try from probably about 6 life hacks ago is Jonny's decaffeination protocol. So that's, let's say you have three coffees a day, 9 a.m., 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. You do 3 weeks where you substitute the last coffee, so the 3 p.m. one, for decaf. And then the next week you go the midday and the 3 p.m. one at decaf. And then you go the 9 a.m., the 12 a.m. and the 9, 12 and 3 are all decaf. And then you reintroduce them slowly over time. So then you've managed to wean yourself off without having to go through all the caffeine headaches and withdrawals. And then you're getting the most out of the least when you reintroduce it. So that's a good way to do it. If you need something with a little bit more fine tuning, then I've got 2 options for you. One of them is called Norlo lightly caffeinated coffee. So this is some kind of Scandinavian coffee brand that is like a third of the caffeine of normal coffee. So it doesn't have that decaf taste, and it's pretty good. It's all like minimal design and really kind of cool looking, lightly caffeinated coffee. So you could go for that, and then you can play around with your protocol and maybe have that at midday as your final one or something. The other option that I've been having recently, if you're a tea fan, is hojicha. So you might have heard of matcha, which is the powdered green tea that's kind of an acquired taste.
Hojicha is his Arabic cousin.
It's his, yeah, exactly. It's his Arab uncle. Lightly roasted. It is actually roasted, so it's brown, and it's got more of a caramelly, malty kind of taste to it, and it's beautiful. I think it's really, really nice, and you can make cakes with it. There's a place all over the UK called Sujiri, which does hojicha and matcha, like soft serve ice cream or cheesecakes and all that kind of stuff.
Getting increasingly Lebanese here, aren't we?
Yeah. So you can get the hojicha powder. It's like £10 for a big bag. Well,
how do you spell that?
Houjicha. And you can make frozen yogurt with it. It's genuinely lovely.
So you would have frozen yogurt that's lightly caffeinated?
Yeah, but the hojicha is actually, because it's roasted, it's got lower caffeine than matcha. but it still has the theanine and all that stuff too. So it's a really nice kind of almost green tea light, but it's got a kind of malty, wholesome flavor to it.
Very nice. I like it. Okay, let's get ourselves out of health and fitness and get into why you should install a USB charger in your bathroom. So it's the first bathroom.
What a sentence.
Look, we need to divert. The first bathroom that I've ever had a USB charger in is the place that I'm at in Texas at the moment. And it's fantastic. It means that my Whoop external battery is always in the same place. For if I'm taking it off, I'm getting in the shower. That's the time when I'm taking my wearables off in any case. For razors, electric shavers, if they've got USB compatibility. For electric toothbrushes, all of which pretty much use USB to power them if you've got a Sonicare or something similar. What are you doing, Yusef?
I'm just prepping for the next.
Dean, can you cut back? Yeah, can you cut back early enough so that we can see what he's doing, please?
It's like something out of a Mr. Bean episode.
It was, yeah. Okay, so it's just you need a USB charger in your bathroom. So if you're doing a bathroom revamp, I'm also going to guess that the same way that the double prong shaver thing 30 years ago was sufficiently safe in terms of wattage or ampage or voltage to be able to be in a room that might have some mist, I'm going to guess 100% that a USB port is going to be sufficiently safe. Check with your appropriate electrical local council electrical company before doing this. However, I've got it in Texas, haven't killed myself, and all of my devices are very well charged.
It's the frustration, isn't it, with having so many little devices that require like a micro or a mini or just a normal USB, that you have to charge them at kind of different intervals throughout the week. So having like a slot where you regularly. So is that while you're showering or something like that you?
Yeah. So especially with the Whoop, I'll just take it off before I get in the shower because I don't want the strap to get wet. I'm like, well, I might as well plug it in to the external charger, which lives right next to the little port, so it's always in the same place. It's just an extra hub because there isn't. For me, the kitchen is where my phone stays, and all of the phone charging stuff tends to live around there. The office would be where all of my tech for work would be. I don't actually have a very good location for the wearables in my life. I don't want them next to my bed. I think that that's just too messy. So where is it that you would go? And it seems to make, I don't know, pretty good sense to me to have it in the bathroom. And the wearables, you're going to take them off. Same stuff for shaving, same stuff for cleaning your mouth, etc.
Yeah, I think having it's having the time to charge them when you don't need them that happens regularly. And I think showering is as long as something can charge in a sufficient amount while you're showering.
Well, think about it this way: the way that I do it, or you could do it with your Whoop, for instance, or an Apple Watch or something similar, could be take it off to shower first thing in the morning, go downstairs, do whatever you need to do, go back up to clean your teeth, presumably, which you're going to do before you leave, grab it off the shelf. That's half an hour charge during a period. You're not going to get much low intensity, steady state cardio in during that 1.5 hour. But it's, yeah, I think it's definitely a good consideration.
Cool.
Johan, give me something.
I want to send us back into health and fitness. Can I do that? Is that allowed?
Sure.
One of them's an exercise technique hack, and the other one is an equipment hack. You might not have the bit of equipment in your gym, but if you do, and you've always looked at it and thought, I wonder what that does. A safety squat bar. You ever tried one? Chris, you ever tried one?
So that's where you've got handles on the front and usually a padded sort of H shape up and above you, and then it goes out to the side, and then it kind of yokes down as well, right, on the outside of that.
Yeah, so the plates are on a portion of the bar that's at an angle, typically the same angle as the handles. So they're kind of tilted forwards a little bit. It's a similar stimulus to a front squat without the kind of positional issues or having to get into a front rack or pinching an artery or something nasty. So it allows you to kind of push the lift more without the technical demands if you're not looking to be an Olympic weightlifter or whatever. The reason I've done it is it's allowed me to basically like reset a lift. So the problem I was having with squatting was doing anything that wasn't like powerlifting training. It's kind of, I'm kind of technically too advanced in the lift for it to kind of be something I can train regularly. And I just feel it in like hips and hamstrings and lower back, and kept getting injured with it. Safety squat but the loads are way lower. The training effect's really high. Like my quads are in pieces for days. So if you've never tried one, you don't particularly like back squatting, you don't particularly like front squatting, there's one in your gym, or you've got a home gym and you want to buy one, they're fairly inexpensive. Would highly, highly recommend that. The second thing is if you do lateral raises and you find yourself like, sometimes you use like you swing your body around, sometimes they kind of go halfway, sometimes they go to, I don't know, random stages. Allow as much body swing, as much body English as you want, but the range of motion has to finish completely over your head with the dumbbells touching.
Has to finish over your head
until you're doing star jumps,
but
just to get it going.
I think if you try experimenting with an amount of body English, and you'll find it kind of polices itself, because doing star jumps actually makes it harder. Believe it or not.
Because I feel like we've all converged at trying to get the most out of the least weight recently with training. So I've gone the opposite way with lateral raises, where I do like chest supported ones. So you set the bench up almost vertical, lean forward onto it, and honestly, doing like 5 kilo dumbbells, it's embarrassing, but it's a lot harder.
I really want to be a part of the movement, but I can't pretend like I haven't just been throwing stupid heavy weight around for the last few months. It's been idiocy 2008 lifting with Z.
I feel like if you're living with Zach.
Yeah, I mean, he's 260 pounds and 6'4", so I've got to try and catch up with him and his weight and his strength. But yeah, I definitely see the advantage of increasing the like mechanical difficulty of a movement in order to stop yourself from being too stupid with it. That makes a ton of sense.
Well, it's just like so Mike Israel talks about the stimulus fatigue ratio. So like it depends why you're training. But if you're training for health, as you mentioned, or like for muscle gain, it does kind of make sense to get the stimulus you need while accumulating the least fatigue possible, like or without over accumulating. Yeah, danger is a big one. So like if to train your legs, you have to load up a leg press, or you're deciding to load up a leg press with as many plates are available in the gym and doing quarter range motion versus like a fifth of that or a tenth of that and doing full range motion, you're probably less likely to get injured. But you might. Will
you get the same training stimulus though? Because presumably you could overshoot it on lightness.
You definitely could. But as long as you're like progressing your training, you'll eventually find the point where you're no longer doing that. But if you maintain the range of motion, you should in theory get a better training effect.
Is this going to be one of your guiding principles as we all transition into sort of older man fitness? Yeah, within the next 10 years, we're all going to have to genuinely consider, what am I getting out of this session? What are the risks associated with this session?
I think I've just come from, my training historically has been like, it just carried a consistent risk of I'm likely to injure myself in this training cycle, like over the next 6 to 8 weeks. And also I would train and then feel like I've been hit by a bus for 1 to 2 days afterwards. So
I don't think it's even I'm likely to. I think just every training cycle, it's like a quad tear or
something happens,
twinge or something. Yeah, it's always something each cycle.
So the fatigue, either from a injury perspective or just the way that training makes you feel, has always been very high for me. So I am now looking to training's just taking a different role in my life. So it's like I want to train a couple of days a week, but I don't really want to feel like I've been run over for a day after my session. But I still want it to kind of work. So where do you arrive at when you combine all those things?
So unreasonable, Johnny.
I know.
You don't want to feel like you've been run over twice a week.
I'm being selfish on it, but yeah, those are my goals with it. So, but I think there's always a time to sling heavy tin, isn't there?
Yes.
Sounds like that's been your phase.
Few months. Yeah, exactly. And then it's going to be more high intensity stuff. Going to be interested to start doing classes and stuff again throughout 2023, because that was the best gains and progress that I ever saw in terms of physique, was actually doing something that wasn't focused on physique. But
that was one of your hacks, wasn't it? Like to do a class, because you just
absolutely
you the rising tide makes you do the cardio that you wouldn't otherwise have done.
As far as I can see, the mediator for most people's outcomes in training is the level of intensity that they train with. Most people they've got weights which are not being moved appropriately, which are too light, being done in reps that aren't sufficiently big enough, and with rest periods that are too long. Just all of that getting compressed down. Now, that's not to say that you're supposed to lift too heavy for too long with too many sets and no rest, but having that externalized to a class and having that motivation put out there it just made such a huge difference. And my physiology really responded to that intensity well.
This is going to sound really judgmental, but I think it goes even beyond the technical definition of intensity. And just, you go into any gym and people just usually aren't trying very hard. And it usually correlates very tightly with their physique, like the results that they're displaying.
Do you mean a CrossFit class when you say class?
No, it'll be similar. It'll be non-technical, strength-based class programming, like CrossFit without the ollie lifting and some of the technical gymnastics.
I think all that would be needed. The only tweak that would be needed for CrossFit classes I would just be there the whole time, is some kind of even if it was like a fortnight of programming that then repeated a few times, so you could just see that you were improving in something. That would be it. That's all I ask for.
The constantly varied is the issue, which sadly is the first part of the definition of CrossFit.
But it can still be constantly varied, just slightly less often.
Intermittently varied.
Yeah, varied. Sometimes. Varied when appropriate.
Regularly periodized functional movements performed at a high intensity. Yeah, man. I mean, I've been saying for ages, I can't believe Barry's Boot Camp, and there's this thing called Orange Theory in America, which you might not be familiar with. Spin classes, Soul Cycle, all this shit. No one has done, here is a bro split, 3 days a week training plan, done at what you would do on your own plus 30% intensity, programmed out, and then finished up with like a nice easy little metcon of push-ups and pull-ups or air squats and running or some shit. Like, I would fist fuck that. It would be so perfect. And yet you're trying to kind of, even with Onnit's programming is good, but I'm still trying to like reverse engineer what it is that I want. I don't want to do fucking 4 rounds of wall balls. I don't care about the training stimulus of 4 rounds of wall balls. But you know, we're getting there slowly over time.
I know what you mean. I'd be on it with you if that existed, especially if it was like how CrossFit is, where you log on to like get the workout of the day or whatever.
Should be done. Anyway, Yusef, what you got?
My girlfriend really upsets me when I see her trying to open an app, because she'll scroll to like the 4th page and look for it, and I'm like, just use Spotlight, just use the, like, scroll down and type the name of the thing. But one step even further is that you can access Spotlight from the home screen, from the lock screen. So
do you have to enable that?
I think so. So you can just...
I've just done it now.
Oh, there we go. Just scroll down.
But what happens if you try and open an app without... I'm going to guess it's going to say, in order to open this, you then need to put your Face ID in.
Yeah, but if you have Face ID enabled, by the time it's opened, it's probably recognized your face, and so you've saved a couple of seconds.
I've just done it, Chris, and it does just open. So I suppose it's Face IDing you while you're...
Yes.
Yeah.
Access Spotlight from the home screen by swiping down. That's lovely. Very nice.
Short and sweet. That is lovely.
What have I got here? So I've got 2 hacks. I've got a lot of travel hacks that I'm going to save for another one a little bit later in the year when people are probably going to be traveling more. However, I'm going to do 2 for London Heathrow because I've used these a lot throughout this year. The first one is that there is a second Pret a Manger at gate A3 in Heathrow Terminal 5. And the main Pret a Manger, which is right in the larger atrium, is way too busy. It is nice. They do have a good selection of foods and coffees, but no more than a smaller Pret would have. However, the second Pret a Manger is at gate A3. So you go past, underneath the walkway, you go past the WH Smiths, you take a left, and it's there on your left. That's very, very good. The other thing that you can do, that's a photo, Johnny, of you at the Pret a Manger, sending it to me after I featured it in a newsletter.
Yes, and indeed.
Something that might be quite noticeable about that is there is no queue outside. Zero queue. It's a secret Pret a Manger. If you want access to a secret Pret a Manger, you're in the right place. Second one, sneak into the business lounge at Business Lounge South at Heathrow Terminal 5. So in many business lounges, you need to scan your boarding pass in order to be able to get in. The Business Lounge South at Heathrow Terminal 5 is you just show your boarding pass and they then scan it in. They're always, all of the girls behind the desk who are perfectly lovely are always talking. They're chit-chatting between themselves. Easy to sneak in. I went back and forth from it without having been checked once. Now, I had access to the business lounge, but they didn't check. And if you're in there, the world is your oyster. Quicker Wi-Fi, great smoothies, free bar, free food, lovely seating.
It's a very selfless hack because you pay for that. So you're creating a free rider problem, even though
that I have to eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris will be in the other lounge where they scan the passes properly.
Oh, peasants.
Is it not that they just can't believe it's Chris from Modern Wisdom and they just let you in even though...
Look at how you've changed from Chris from Love Island or Chris from Voodoo Events. You just need to continue to update the bio.
Chris Carnage.
Chris fucking hell.
Chris Carnage Williamson.
Digging into the archive there. So second Pret a Manger, Gate A3 and sneak into the Business Lounge in Heathrow Terminal 5. Business Lounge is very, very nice, by the way. Should we do one more round? Let's get one more round in. Come on, Johnny.
Let's do it. This is a music recommendation. So if anybody is or used to be a fan of like Rage Against the Machine or Audio Slave, Chris Cornell, any of that sort of stuff, and to be honest, any rock from that genre of music, there's a group called Brass Against on YouTube, which is like a brass band with a rotation of singers, and they cover quite a lot of Rage Against the Machine music. And it is honestly phenomenal. I showed it to a few people and they've messaged me back saying like, I've just been down a Brass Against rabbit hole. They have this singer. She is, I mean, it sounds like Zach De La Rocha, the original singer from Rage Against the Machine, but like good gym music, just good general music. Really, really good. Brass Against.
Are they, I'm going to guess they'll be on Spotify as well.
I'm not sure whether they are. I've not actually checked. But all the stuff that I've listened to has been on YouTube.
So you must be YouTube premiuming this.
I am YouTube premiuming this. Yes.
Opening it, closing it. Right, I see.
Yeah,
Brass Against. I mean,
they are on Spotify. Yeah.
Of all of the life hacks that we're going to talk about today, there being a brass band equivalent of Rise Against, I did not have on my bingo
Rage Against
card.
Machine.
Whatever.
So there's also Richard Cheese who does lounge versions of like System of a Down and Nirvana. Like wake up, grab yourself a little makeup, shake up. It's great. It's very. It seems to be a winning formula.
All right, Yusef, what you got?
So I feel I'm cringing a little bit about this one. But I really like these. So these are
Alex Hormozy branded nasal strips.
The nasal strips, yeah. The reason I'm cringing is because since Alex Hormozy has popularized them, everyone and their uncle has started doing videos on Instagram while wearing them as some kind of like status symbol. I don't know. Like it's because come on, like you're recording a video with good lighting and good camera and stuff, and you neglected to take off your stupid nose strips. You're clearly doing it to try and signal something.
That step aside though, Yusef, I want you to sell me on wearing a nose strip. Why should we wear a nose strip? About your own hack.
So if you have a nose like me, you might think, surely the size of those colossal nostrils doesn't need more assistance.
Fucking cavernous.
For ventilation.
Opening them up requires you to put a land registry down so that you can walk through.
You have to get planning permission. But what they do before bed is, and I've got to avoid my piercing here, otherwise I end up. So you put it just over the kind of nasal bridge, and it does just enhance your. Listen to that clear passage.
Does it do that because it's got something on it or in it? Like
yeah,
what's the process?
It's obviously sort of plaster material, but inside it has a backbone, a flexible spine that pulls your nostrils apart. So if you're a bit of a snorer, if you're finding that you just want to improve your nasal breathing or encourage it, this is a better alternative than, for example, people doing mouth tape, which, if you do get blocked nose, that could be a bit unsafe. So instead, rather than blocking off the opposite, it's encouraging the thing you're trying to do.
Now, did you go for breathe right medium?
Oh my God.
Or did you go for breathe right large?
I've gone for Harmony Life.
Oh, okay. Is that presumably from Alibaba?
It
sounds like a life insurance company.
Did you have to get one for Arab-sized noses?
Yeah, you've got to go, you have to tick your ethnicity as you select the order.
I can't tell if you're joking. Are you joking?
I mean, how racist would that be?
I mean, it's sometimes the sort of thing you have to fill in, though, isn't it? Granted, rarely when you're just ordering something online.
You kind of caught off guard.
Why do you need that information? So back to your comment, Chris. I didn't think on this episode of Life Hacks I would be the only one here without a pack of nasal strips to hand.
Well, I've got two here actually. I feel like
Breathe Right and
both Breathe Right. But I went for two different sizes. See, that's the large.
The Breathe Right one's menthol.
I love how it's large and original. Fucking focus, you bitch. It's not gonna. What if I hide behind?
Yeah, it's focused.
Hey, there you go.
75% of adult noses. I want to see the 25%.
Lifts open nasal passages for up to 31% more airflow. Breathe Right nasal strips may help reduce or even eliminate snoring.
Are yours au naturel, Chris, or are they mentholated?
No, they're.
Yusef won't have gone for the menthol because of estrogen.
This actually does, surprisingly, the large ones do kind of smell a bit mentholy, but I don't think that they are. I don't think they're supposed to be.
Maybe
why
just kept in the same
menthol,
factory.
Yusef?
I just didn't. I'll go for it next time.
Okay.
I'm not too concerned about estrogen for menthol.
Thank goodness. I think the menthol sounds like it would be the best bit.
Maybe. It could be the kind of thing.
It's above your nose. How are you going to have menthol?
I don't know. You'll still be able to smell it, won't you?
Yeah, maybe. I'll get mine on. Johnny, can you not find something to put on your nose and then we can all wear
sadly
strips together? Give me a second.
Be a bit of post-it note. Good face, Chris. That's the makeup face.
There it is. Yeah.
What about that?
Brilliant.
Oh, that's lovely.
Absolutely.
Technically, this is on my nose, and it's similar, isn't it?
It's a festive nasal decongestant that you've got on there. Do they light up? No,
they don't.
Johnny had a pair of sunglasses briefly. Okay, so my last one. What am I going to do for my last one?
I'm gonna have to get some nasal strips now.
I hope we're doing a what are we watching round. At the end.
Yeah, of course. Of course. You think I'm going to miss off that? Best bloody
because you just watched the third film ever. Ready for
okay, so how about this is a final one for traveling, but it's also for people that are staying in hotels since COVID have stopped turning down people's rooms. They don't do room turn down service unless you request it. And they say that it's due to COVID safety regulations. And
how long are they going to milk that for?
Absolutely not. It's exclusively due to the fact that they don't want to have to send the maids round to every different room. So when you check in, that is the time, every single time, to say, can I just make sure that we're going to have turn down service every day that I'm here? Because if you try and ring them, even when you check in, once you've gone up to the room and you ring down, what they'll say is, sorry, we need 24 hours notice in order to be able to plan this. In some places, they'll say that they need 24 hours notice. If you do it when you check in and they say we need 24 hours notice, you go, look, I've just checked in. That's a ridiculous rule.
Hotels are such gaslighters. They do it with the towels and washing, don't they? They say, to protect the environment, we're not going to do any laundry unless you put it in the bath or unless you request it or something. You're like, it's not for the environment, though.
Unless
really,
you damage the planet in your selfish manner.
Yeah.
You'll use the same towel.
I'm paying 250 quid a night for this room. Let me clean my towels.
Yeah.
I didn't realise there was a carbon offset here. So yeah, ask for room turn down at a hotel as soon as you check in. It happened in Guatemala. I needed to do that. I went 3 days without a turn down service and then realised that I needed to request it, which was 24 hours. So it was 4 days before I actually had my room turned down. Highly done. Okay, as is tradition, let's do a little loop around of what we've been watching. Netflix series, documentaries, YouTube stuff, any bits
He's
like
so
that.
Excited, isn't he? Bursting.
Let's see it.
Shall I go first?
His nasal strips vibrating with excitement.
Is the potatoes now, I'd say, a little bit cooler than room temperature, but I'm happy to
safely
I'm
in
happy
your
to
hands.
handle it.
Take it away, Johan.
First one's just come out, actually. Has anyone seen the first Knives Out film?
Is that
Yes.
with that new thing's with Daniel Craig, right?
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay. So it's a bit of an acquired taste, but if you enjoy Knives Out, the first film, there's a new one called Glass Onion, I think it's called, a Knives Out production or something. It's like number 1 in the UK on Netflix. It's pretty good. I just really like Benoit Blanc.
How does it compare to Knives Out?
Similar. Hold on, what do you mean?
Like, so it's not a sequel? Is it just
no, it's not a sequel. It's Benoit Blanc's in it, so he's the common theme.
So
Ed Norton's in it.
If you were to rate Knives Out of 10, would it be higher or lower?
It would be. This is because you're deciding whether to watch it or not.
Yeah.
Is that because you didn't enjoy Knives Out? And
So it was just on the threshold. So if it's lower,
oh wow, it probably is slightly lower.
Yeah.
I
That's
didn't
a
watch
shame.
the first one. Was the first one good?
It's like I say, it's a really acquired taste. Like you'll either watch it and think, "What the fuck is this? Why has Johnny recommended this?" Or you'll find it really funny. I find Benoit Blanc funny, Daniel Craig's character. So,
all right, Yusef, what's
think?
the one film you've watched over the last 100 episodes?
So it was a series called Devil's Hour, and I recommended Johnny to watch it, and I think it's probably the first thing that I've ever recommended Johnny to watch that you've not already seen. But
so I think it's the best series I've ever seen.
Wow, it's top 3 for me for sure. I think it goes Breaking Bad, Midnight Mass, Devil's Hour.
The fuck's Midnight Mass?
It's based on a Stephen King book, so it's really well written and it's incredible.
What's Devil's Hour?
It's got Malcolm Tucker in it.
Right.
Well, it hasn't. It's got
Malcolm
Peter
Tucker.
Capaldi.
Yeah.
And now I've got to we've got to tread very carefully here, but it's a psychological thriller that is very dark and has lots of unfolding, unusual events. And I think that's all I can say.
Okay. What's it on? Netflix?
Amazon Prime, I think.
And how many episodes? How long?
I think it's like 5 or 6. So it's nice and contained. It doesn't feel like it drags out. There are some series where you're like, oh, come on, this could have been like 4 episodes rather than 15.
I would say, just a editor's note, that when Yusuf recommended it to me, my first thoughts were like, this is decently complicated. Like for somebody to just sit back and enjoy, there's a lot of different plot lines, and it does take a couple of episodes for you to be like, okay, this is pretty good. And then the final couple of episodes, like the final one especially, where everything's revealed, insane. So it's really worth persisting.
How scary is it? Because when I hear thriller suspense, I think scary, and I don't do
I
well
love
with,
that you don't like scary films.
I really don't like scary films. Not good with scary films.
It's not scary at all.
Okay, good.
The Devil's Hour, that will all be revealed why it's called that.
Sounds like it might be scary. Okay, have you seen Treason?
No.
Watch Treason.
Is that one?
Watch
one for the
Treason.
list?
Netflix came out. It may have only come out yesterday. I have been recovering with this flu that has nailed me twice in 2 different countries now. And in the space of the 2 days it's been out, I finished it. So I recovered to Treason. Very good. The head of MI6 gets poisoned within the first 3 minutes of the series, and then a new understudy takes his place, and it's all political backbiting and stuff goes on, and his family gets involved, and an ex-lover comes over, and the Russians are in it, and everything. And it's just a bunch of pretty well-known British actors that you'll be familiar with. The Irish mob boss from that mob series that we were watching a little while ago is in it. The one that took ayahuasca on that like real high-class retreat with his wife and went crazy. He's in it. A bunch of people that you'll recognize from things like The Thick of It. Just good class of British characters.
Sounds good.
Yeah, easy watching. 5 episodes. Could could have been a little bit more compelling, but pretty enjoyable watch, pretty easygoing.
Nice.
Johnny.
The Litvinenko series. Anyone seen that? I think it's on like ITV Player or BBC, and it just documents the Alexander Litvinenko. I think that's how you pronounce it. Like the actual events.
Who was that? What is he?
He was a former Russian KGB agent.
Oh, he was the nerve agent guy. Didn't him and his daughter both got popped?
I think just him.
Okay.
Just him. Yeah, there was another incident where like 2 people got poisoned in Salisbury, I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was predates that. He was like poisoned in a hotel with I don't know. And it's the most dangerous substance.
Some nasty bastard nerve agent, yeah. Only just available in Russia.
Documents like the British police dealing with it, and pretty good.
Nice.
Good series.
And it's just called Litvinenko.
I think so, yeah. I didn't know like half the stuff that happened and how like it's just audacious to just come into the UK and poison someone with something like that and then leave again. Like,
this wasn't the guys.
What are you guys doing?
Like the cathedral, the brothers that went into like Durham Cathedral or something, and no,
I don't think so. No, it was in a hotel in London. They put like a nerve agent in is it polonium or something like that? Put it in his green tea, in a pot of green tea in a hotel, and they then subsequently found like traces of it in the green tea that had been like through days and days of cycles. They still found traces of it, and they had to bury him in like a metal coffin.
This nerve agent shit's no joke, man. As they were tracking the father and daughter, I think, that got popped with it, or the one in Salisbury, they were able to see where they'd been for hours afterward. Yeah. Oh, he touched this cup. Oh, he'd stood on this step. He'd brushed past this particular tree or something.
It's the point they make in both dramas about both of those happening is that like there can be a speck of it on a table, and you could test just to the left of it and just to the right of it and miss it entirely. And you have to test exactly where it is, otherwise you can't detect it. But if someone touches it, that's it.
Game over.
Game over. So it's so hard to once there's been some of it in somewhere, it's so hard to find it and detect it and remove it.
Shit.
And it's incredibly toxic.
Okay. So, Yusef, have you watched anything else?
Yeah, so a couple of hat tips again to Johnny, because I think you recommended both of these. The Night Manager, which was good, had a sort of young Daniel Craig in it.
Yeah.
Who's very charming and very British.
You're talking about the guy that plays Loki. Tom
Hanks.
No.
Tom Hanks, that's it. Yeah.
Tom Hanks. Yeah, you're right. Okay, that guy. I watched that as well. I thought that was great. It's also got Hugh Laurie in, right? Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston and Hugh Laurie. Yeah, both of them are in it.
Okay.
And Tom Holland is also in it.
And then the other one was The Suspect, which was also good. It's kind of psychological thriller with an Irishman.
So funnily enough, that was actually the thing I was going to say next. So thank you for that.
Oh, no, I've stolen it from you.
Well, no, I think I might have said it on the last Life Hacks.
What was the second one? Watch The Night Manager, and what's the other one?
Suspect.
Watch The Suspect. Okay.
So those were my hat tips. Just in terms
this isn't you. That wasn't you.
Yeah. So just in terms of things to watch. Chris, you recommended CoffeeZilla a while back. I've seen some of his recent stuff, and he is a specimen.
Some of the best shit on the internet at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. He's for people who haven't heard of him, he's an investigative journalist that wears signature suspenders, and he just goes after scammers and crypto warlords and all these kind of people, and just goes to town and like peels through the blockchain and looks at the individual transactions and goes to the nth degree to just nail people. And he recently nailed Sam Bankman-Fried from what's the
FTX.
Have
you watched the Logan Paul 3-parter?
I watched the first one.
Diddled Logan Paul.
I haven't seen any of this.
Diddled him hard. Yeah. I mean,
where do I start?
CoffeeZilla, just go on, watch the Logan Paul 3-parter. That's pretty fun. Okay. It's most fun to watch them as he releases them, because watching them in retrospect, he did a huge 5 or 6-part series across 2 different channels about Rubet and Steve Will Do It and the Nelk Boys and this crypto gambling that occurs in...
I remember that.
Yeah. It's most fun to watch them as they come out, because you get to then think about what's going to happen next, and you also get to see the reactions from people real time as they put defensive tweets up or whatever. You can go and like have a bit of a stalk. I don't think Logan Paul's actually responded to this most recent thing.
The whole impression I get from watching it, because when you start creating content, you see it with a kind of creator's eye, and I'm thinking, okay, like he's put in a lot of effort for this. Like you can really tell he's put in the time and the cost and everything to make this video. But the main thing is, like, he is pissed off a lot of people. He is definitely going to be on at least 5, maybe 10 people's hit list.
Mate, so I know from a very, very good source that he's had a ton of wild shit happen to him from people that he's investigated. And he's had these emails that say shit like, we are never going to stop. I hope that your kids and their grandkids are ready for this, because we're never, ever going to stop. And you're like, fucking hell. And he doesn't monetize. He doesn't do sponsors. He'll make money from AdSense, and he's just started a Patreon. So if you like what he does, you should go and subscribe to his Patreon, because this guy pays an awful lot of private prices to be able to do what to everyone else is basically just entertainment. You know, like
exactly.
No one else is gaining from Logan Paul being taken down, really. I mean, some people have got money back, or some people have been sent to jail or whatever because of the downstream impact of particular investigations that he's begun. But yeah, he's a motherfucker. CoffeeZilla is great. I'll do something that I actually watched last night, and I've spoken about them before, but they've just released something new. Melody Sheep on YouTube. So they make these beautifully soundscaped, fully 3D modeled documentaries about what it would be like to journey through the universe or to go to different solar systems. They did a 3-part series called Alien Worlds, which showed it created an imaginary museum of other different types of alien life forms that could evolve on different sorts of planets. So this would be on a planet with really high gravity, one with huge amounts of sunlight, one with tons of oxygen. This is what silicon-based life could look like. This is what artificial intelligence could look like. And it's so beautifully designed. It's absolutely gorgeous. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And the most recent one that he just did is about other inhabitable planets that we could go and see. But it's not just like stock footage. It's all custom created for this, soundscaped over the top, and he'll fly you through the world on the bottom, and he'll show you a 3-star, the only planet we know that orbits a 3-star system in the habitable zone, and he'll try and render what a sunrise from 3 stars would look like on this thing as he's just talking over the top of it. The one thing that I would caveat is if you don't have YouTube Premium, he fucking pounds you with ads. It's every 5 minutes. So I highly recommend watching it on someone's account that's got YouTube Premium. But Melody Sheep, and the most recent one, which I think is a journey to an alien world or something like that, is top notch.
Nice.
Sounds good.
Let's round it up there, gentlemen. Where should people go if they want to check out the stuff that you do, and what is it that you do?
2 things. If you want to just get some macros from us, some calorie recommendations, we have a calculator on our website. So go to propanefitness.com, it's on the homepage. If the other side of what we do is we help people, mainly personal trainers, fitness coaches, gyms, move their business online. We summarize how we do all of that. We give you a free training that summarizes the entire process at propanefitness.com/modern wisdom.
Big up. What else have you got coming up? Is there anything else that people should expect from you guys soon?
Just more of the same. We're just always trying to slightly improve everything.
More podcasts and stuff.
We've got some exciting back-end stuff for our kind of inner circle of clients that is obviously a black ops operation. We can't talk about, but yeah, we're going big on YouTube this year. So have a look at us on there.
Cool. Boys, I appreciate you. We're going to go for chicken next week. And
yes, we are.
I'm looking forward to it. All right. Thanks, you.
Man. See you.
What's happening, people? Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that episode, then press here for a selection of the best clips from the podcast over the last few weeks. And don't forget to subscribe. Peace.